All right, we're live. We're good. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? You got Jay and Jody, J&J Connection. Tonight, we really wanted to talk about something Jody and I were talking about the other day, which was this notion of wounded birds. So, what is a wounded bird? So, really, the wounded bird is an illustration of somebody who has been hurt over the course of one or multiple relationships and who hasn't healed, and that's really what's preventing one of the reasons that's preventing them from having successful relationships. So how did we get on this topic of wounded birds? Well, I had a friend of mine who, we were just talking, and she kind of mentioned, Jay, you date the same type of woman. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you date these wounded birds. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're referring to. And so she elaborated. And basically, what she said is a wounded bird, and a wounded bird could be a male or female. But in this example, I'm talking about a woman because I only date women. Um, and just women who have been through, traumatic experiences when it comes to, romantic relationships, and who still have wounds because they haven't healed. And I don't know if Jody will define herself as a wounded bird. Um, do you?
Well, let me just. Not necessarily. Well, somewhat. Yeah, I would somewhat define myself as a wounded bird. But let me just. So, as Jay was saying, Jay was, Jay basically outlined that wounded bird is a person who has gone through multiple relationships, and the relationships for whatever didn't work out. There were probably uh, different situations that happen within the relationship that cause these cracks in the relationship. But a wounded bird can also be you can have in terms of a man or a woman, a wounded bird can also be um, uh, a wounded bird can also be a bird that's already wounded prior to entering any relationship. It can be based on things that extend from their childhood. It can be based on whether it's suffering from um, parental abandonment from your mother or your father. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
it's not just the romantic relationships that can cause these cracks. It can also be based on what you've experienced as a child going into these relationships. So you can already be wounded going into these relationships. So I just wanted to touch on that.
That's a good point. That's a good point because you're absolutely right. There are certain things that can happen in somebody's childhood that could be traumatic, that could, root themselves, in behaviors while they're an adult that are preventing them from having successful relationships. So you're exactly right. I didn't even, think about that perspective. Um, and so, what is the difficulty of these wounded? Like, how do they what's the biggest challenges they have when it comes to a relationship? Well, it depending on what their wounds are, and let's just talk about trust, right? Because that's an easy one to talk about. So how can that root itself in an issue and grow into a major problem um, easily, right? Because if somebody has trust issues and somebody's behavior reminds them of the behavior of the person who ruined that trust in the past, then and that wound hasn't been healed proper, hasn't had time to heal itself, and when it starts to open, it's very painful. Um, and so when that pain starts to rear itself, do we need to? Are you good or?
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. So when that pain starts to present itself, then the other person, you know, based on the fear
Right.
um, that of going through that traumatic experience again, they're going to react. Um, 9 times out of 10, the other person is going to have no idea why they're reacting the way they're reacting because they don't, have that experience. They don't have that trauma. They don't have that wound. Um, Jodie and I have talked about, certain situations we went through and where, I'm a guy who has several friends who are female. Not to mention, I'm still very good friends with women that I've dated in the past. And to her, those were red flags. And basically, red flags are what can cause a wound um, to reopen, basically, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so once Jody, she's like, oh, okay, you still dealing with women you dealt with in the past. You got a lot of women that you associate with. That was a red flag for her. And, so she reacted out of fear. And I had no idea why she was doing the things she was doing. And just to be clear, most men, if they can't understand a woman's reaction, if it seems illogical or irrational to them or to us, we will call it crazy, and we
Or
will throw
tripping.
that or tripping, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and so that will be the bucket that it gets thrown into, and then we easily can say, walk away, because she crazy or she tripping or she got
Right.
issues.
Right.
Um, Not even thinking about what's really going on. Um, and this is just one potential issue that can destroy, a potentially great relationship that because it doesn't get communicated. Like Jody didn't communicate to me that she had this, she did communicate that these were red flags. She did say that. But to me, I'm like, okay, I get it. But, I'm not the guys in the past, right? I'm the guy today. And, sometimes it's hard to, reconcile that or close that gap, so you got these past experiences, you got this experience today, this person telling me they not like these other people, but you got so much data that says if it's a duck, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, swims like a duck, it's probably a duck. Um, and honestly, just the other day, somebody told me, I've had a few people tell me every guy they dated, a few women tell me every guy they've dated, they cheated on them. So if you have that experience, and then somebody, comes in and says, hey, I got a lot of friends that are women, or I still deal with women that I dealt with in the past. If it's not, if a woman or man is not healed from that trauma, then that can cause a serious issue, right?
Right. Yes. However, I think you and I, I think you and I, based on what we discussed a couple nights ago, I think in both, whether it's male or female, I think both have to be willing to, well, basically it just comes down to value. How much do you value the relationship? Do you value the relationship enough to um ask the questions or find out why, quote unquote, this person is tripping? Um, Instead of just kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. He or she's tripping, or he or she, they're crazy, they're insecure. Um, Instead of just really um, trying to find out what the root cause is. But again, that comes down to valuing a relationship. How much do you really value? How much do you really value the relationship? Is what it comes down to. And so if
I
you're just willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater and walk away and you know, and leave with, you know, the last impression of she's tripping or he's tripping, then it's gonna be a continuum once you get into the next relationship and the next relationship, because you never ask the question in that relationship, or you never value the relationship enough to find out why this person feels the way they feel.
Well, to be clear, I did ask what this was coming from, what's
But
going
he didn't
on.
understand. He didn't understand.
Right. But I asked the question. That's why I was saying I agree with you to a degree. I think that's part of it. Um, the other part is communication. Um, and this is another, revelation that, I had that we talked about is, you know, men and women don't both men and women don't communicate their true feelings, period. Um, and so I'm I think I'm better at it than Jody was. Um, because I'm just, you know, I try to, be as transparent as possible because I don't want no drama. I don't want no issues. I just want to, I want everything to be cool and chill. I don't want a black tornado in the house. Um, and so Jody she didn't express like exactly how she was feeling and why she was feeling that way. Which happens most of the time in relationships when somebody's upset with something, they'll make it about something small, like something really small and insignificant, when it's really about something much bigger over here to the right, but they don't want to talk about that directly. So they're using this, whatever this small issue is, indirectly as the catalyst to, start World War III. And
Well,
that's what.
let me just interject. So my issue with Jay, um, when we were seeing each other, was in part due to previous relationships, in part. But like I communicated to him, um, the majority of my quote unquote um, insecurities was based on Jay. It was based on Jay's behavior. So, audience, if you, okay, so Jay and I, when we first started seeing each other, I'm just going to put it out there. We spent probably every day together. I mean, for weeks, day in, day out, day in, day out. And I think that, I think we did that for maybe about a month. All right. We have this, so we're kind of spending this quality time together, right? Seeing each other every day, um, just spending time together every day. You know what I mean? There was we didn't skip a beat. Suddenly, 30 days later, 32 days later, what have you, there is a departure. There's no, for real, there's a departure. Jay, um, so Jay used to come over every day, spend the night, et cetera, et cetera. And then 32 days later, it was like Jay just, stopped. I mean, it was at a halt. And um, so, from that point, he started staying home. And, he would come over periodically. We were still having our, phone conversations. And let me rewind. So the phone conversations that we had initially, before we even started spending time together, um, we were on the phone. I mean, our conversations probably lasted a good 8 to 9 hours a day. So just imagine having 8 to 9 hour conversations. And yes, we did have a lot to talk about. 8 to 9 hour conversations a day for 30 we'll just say for 30 some odd days. Have, and then you have then you have Jay coming over almost every day. And then all of a sudden everything just comes to a halt. And so, yeah, we were still having these, we were still having these long extended conversations on the phone, but Jay, Jay would come over periodically. I wouldn't see Jay as often. So naturally, audience, what would you think? You don't even have to be insecure. As a woman, and even as a man, what would you think, audience? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean, she's painting one half of the picture,
That's the
as
whole picture.
usual,
But go ahead. That's the
um,
canvas.
which is what women tend to do, paint half the picture. I like to give the full picture so that everyone can see
Sure.
the entire, situation. But anyway, so what happened was, I mean, I have a dog, I have fish tanks, I have other, I have a house, so I have to spend time at my house too, like in the beginning, you know, listen, we're in our 40s, so from my understanding, again, it boils down to communication, which is what I said initially. Both, men and women are guilty of not communicating, um, you know, uh, efficiently. But I didn't tell her like, hey, I'm gonna start staying home because I need to start staying home. I got a dog. I got, responsibilities over there. Um, Plus, I'm the one that's ripping and running up and down the highway every day. And, I got to hit the gym and I got to do all this stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I got to get back into my routine of things. Now, I did not communicate to her that. That's the only real thing that I'm guilty of, is not communicating why I was stopping. I mean, I figured it would just be, common sense to me. But because I mean, it can't continue indefinitely. Like, that just can't continue indefinitely. Or I mean, maybe she thought it would last a little longer, but I mean, I would help. I mean, I was imagining that she was thinking that, yeah, this can't last forever. So when I stopped, it was, and it's not like and it's, she didn't even talk about it either. This is where she was guilty too, because she didn't even talk about like, oh, why you, like, it was immediately like DEFCON 4, like, what's going on? You're not coming over. Like, what you doing over there? Like, and I'm like, yo, relax. You know, I'm. This is why. Then I did talk, and I told her, I'm like, yo, I'm just not coming over there because I got responsibilities here too. I like my house. You know what I'm saying? I like being here too. So she was only painting half the picture. I just wanted to put that perspective in there. That's the other half of the picture. But go ahead and continue.
So, audience, ladies, gentlemen, so if you're in a relationship, it is not uncommon for you to spend time with the person that you're seeing. It's not uncommon for you guys to spend time together every day. And 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 I'm talking about for a long period of time, you know, months in, months out. That's not uncommon, right? It's not.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, we're talking about what, 30 days, and then it's just a complete halt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but most people don't work out like I work out. They,
What do you mean most people don't work out like you work out? I
most people
mean,
don't work out consistently. Is what
if I go based on my prior relationships, yeah, they worked out.
I mean. That's just the guys you happen to like. I mean, we can go statistically across the country and we can
We're not
see who,
okay, but
who right. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
but we're talking, yeah, but we're okay. So this is between this is this is this we're talking about our relationship, and then we're talking about prior relationships, right? We're talking about, so
No, I mean,
basically,
you're using examples of
and I was
prior.
using my prior example. I'm not using societies. I'm not using. This is not a. You're saying that that's not a societal norm, but
Right. That's what I'm
how do
saying.
you? But what I'm saying is that you don't know everybody. You don't know all relationships, so you don't know how they conduct themselves. That's what I'm
I
saying.
Well, I know, but I know statistically the obesity rate, and the health issues that we have as a society. So if everyone was going to the gym and taking care of themselves, then we wouldn't have those issues, is what I'm saying. So I'm just using the power of deducing all those different factors to arrive at, that conclusion. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't have the data in front of me, but I am, you know, informed enough to know that this country has a lot of folks that have issues, and the majority of folks don't stay in shape, especially once they pass 35. So, and I can look at my dating history, and I mean, well, I mean, I guess I can't use me because I have a particular type, but I mean, you get my point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Did you
Yeah.
did you want to did you want to add to did you want to add to that? Add to
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, you know, the situation you were saying before with about me, just cutting off my, from what I was doing. Um, and I think the part that you didn't really elaborate on was this is what started to open up your wounds that you
Mhm.
had. And
Mhm.
then
It's
when
called
those,
abandonment. Mhm.
right. And
Mhm.
so when those wounds open,
Mhm.
then there was no Jay, this is I have a fear of this, whatever. It was no conversation like that. Like, hey, I just want to let you know that, it's okay if you want to stay at home. I understand that, but I have this fear of abandonment that I'd like to talk to you about. Yeah, see, that wasn't part of the that didn't
Yeah,
happen.
but yeah, but in order for me to even for me to even release that information,
Yes.
you would have had to make me feel comfortable to do that, and you didn't. When you cut somebody off like that, they retreat. So what happened was I retreated emotionally because it was a complete cutoff. So for me to be forthcoming and tell you or to communicate to you that I have this fear of abandonment because you had already I mean you basically you made it impossible for me to even communicate that to you. Yeah, because when you cut someone off like that, no, when you cut someone off like that, they're emotionally they're going to retreat. That's what they're going to do.
I'm not saying
and,
they're
and
not going to
and
do
from
that,
that
though. That's
point
not right.
they're not going to feel safe. So
Right. But
you
that's
didn't from that point you didn't even make me feel safe to come to you and say hey or communicate to you hey what you did is putting me in a space where I feel abandoned. You didn't do that. You
right.
didn't allow me to do that.
No, but so what you did is probably what people typically do. But and that's the reason why I'm bringing up this example is because what people typically do is the wrong response. What should have happened is a conversation. Hey, this is how I feel. And you just voice your feelings, and then we have a conversation about it, and then we move forward. But since you didn't have a conversation about it, and it was more of you know, a scolding like I was a child, uh, then yeah, I was totally like, okay, where is this coming from? Like, to me, it's perfectly
So
normal for this to happen.
so what happens is, based on me, I guess you felt like I was scolding you. And so based on those feelings, you started to shut down instead of see this is where
Right. I agree. I'm
hold
like,
on.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think this is where and no pun intended, but I think this is where the maturity comes in, maybe on both sides. I think for you, Jay, and maybe what I wanted from you or what I thought or what I thought I should have gotten from you is, hey, Jody, talk to me. What is going on with you? You know, what are these insecurities? But instead, you didn't do that. What you did is you shut down. That's what
Hmm.
you did. You shut down.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, and again, this is where people go wrong because prior traumatizations are what dictate what your reaction and response is going to be. And I have had situations in the past of women who have had extreme insecurities, and I don't want to deal with the ramifications from that. So once, just like you started seeing red flags, oh, he got a lot of friends that are women. Oh, he's still dealing with women that he dealt with in the past, and your red flags, your wounds start opening. Then soon as you start, acting, certain way, insecure, emotional, crazy, then I shut down. Was like, all right, she ain't balanced. You know what I'm saying?
So your past experiences triggered, because it clearly was a trigger. But so
Oh,
your past,
absolutely.
you're right. So let me ask you a question, and let me just put this out here. So Jay has a whole lot of female friends. I too have a lot of male friends. The difference is that when I am in relationship with someone, those male friends have they have enough respect to kind of, it's not that they retreat, but it's like I have enough respect for her relationship where I'm gonna let her handle her relationship. I'm not gonna be. I don't need to talk to her every day. I don't need to, I don't need to,
I was
I don't need
talking.
to talk to her every day. I don't need to interact with her every day. She's in a relationship, so I'm going to respect the relationship. I'm going to respect her, and I'm going to respect the relationship. His friends, which he is a contributing factor.
Who?
Um,
Who?
you call all your friends. They just don't call you. You call them as well.
Right.
So
Not every
so
day.
so it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is that the way we handle relationships, which is one, I mean, aside from feeling insecure or feeling abandoned and all that other crap, and Jay shutting down, Jay, there was no boundaries in my opinion. I'm not saying that Jay was out there doing anything, but Jay, as far as boundaries, if Jay, based on the fact that Jay was seeing Jodie, Jay, I think there should be boundaries where you don't need, or there shouldn't be a need for you to talk to your female friends all the time. That is crazy. And then female friends that you have had relations, if you guys know what I mean, relations with. No, there should be boundaries. There should be boundaries. There should be boundaries. And so I'm actually, I'm really curious to know what the audience thinks, really. There should
Well,
definitely be boundaries.
right. But in order to have boundaries, you have to have a conversation first. There was
No,
no
some
conversation.
things are just common sense. There's some
Well,
things are just common sense. Common sense says, Jody, you're in a relationship. So the people that you've had even though you guys have a platonic relationship now, the people that you've had a relationship with prior, that you don't need to be interacting with them every day or most days, because your primary focus and his primary focus, this should have been the primary focus, not Jay talking to his female friends almost every day, and especially the ones that he had relations with. No, that's a no.
well, you know what's interesting, and I'm glad we walked down this road because everything that she thinks is just in her head. It's not reality. She already told you guys we were talking 8-9 hours during the day and spending the evening together.
Mm-hmm.
So when and where am I calling my friends every day, every other day, every third? Like we were not talking like that. That was in your head that we were talking like that just because as soon as you heard that I had female friends and I still talk to them, um, then you just started creating these things in your head, like, oh, he's talking to him all the time. Like that was not happening. And I tried to
Well,
tell you that wasn't happening too.
it started out as one for no. Wait a minute. I
Right.
was okay. I was okay. And I'm not talking about the friends that his platonic friends. I'm not talking about friends that he's, just platonic friends that he's never had a romantic relationship with. The friends that he's had a romantic relationship, it's, yeah, I used to see this person. Okay. And then it was, well, did you have relations with this person? Yeah. So the thing about it is that Jay didn't come clean. Some of these women that he was talking to on the phone or conversing with on the phone or whatever, he never came out and said that these are women that he had relations with. Never, never, ever,
What are you talking about?
never. I had to ask you, because I had to actually ask you, are these women that you've had a relationship, like relations with?
Right. I mean, I'm
Well,
not gonna
it started out as one, and then
mm-hmm.
it and then there was two, and then there was three. And I was
No,
like, wait a minute. And then I was like, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. It's like, how many of these women that you talk to on a whether it's periodically or whatever on a day-to-day basis, how many of these
right.
women did you have relations with? Because I'm thinking that these are just platonic friends. If they're just platonic friends, I'm good with that. But then to find out that these are women that you had relations with, and then it was at first it was one, and then it popped up as two, and then three. I was like,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
most of them didn't even live here.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm just saying, like,
But okay.
most of them didn't even live here, so you can see the overreaction.
I'm just curious to see what I'm just curious to know what the audience.
I mean, we'll see what the
Okay.
comments say, but but yeah, like one of our couples that we interviewed, the husband Jay, he said him and his wife Thais, they both agreed. You just either you have trust or you don't. Like, and so, but based on Jodie's, because in this situation, you can see that both of us had wounded bird tendencies on both sides. Jodie from an insecurity standpoint, based on her past, and then me from, emotional. I don't know what you would call it, but anybody who displays, extreme, insecurities, then that's a trigger for me. And then I'm on high alert, on when we go into DEFCON 5, going to war, because I've been there before.
But Jay, let me ask you a question. Did you ever ask me, Jodie, where are your insecurities coming from? You automatically thought you automatically created in your mind that it was from past relation. Well, there was a relationship that was pretty traumatic. However, that's not the root cause.
I mean,
The
there were a
root
couple.
the
You told
root
me.
cause of my insecurities is based on it's based on growing up without a father. That's the root cause of my my insecurities. It's a feeling of abandonment. Period. So the root cause would be abandonment. That's what it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just based on my romantic relationships. Those
Right.
are symptoms. Those are symptoms. The root
Right.
cause is not having a father. That's the root cause. So
Okay. I mean, yeah, I never, I think I might have asked, like, what is this about? Like, what, but I was referring to different relationships, romantic relationships, um, that, never entered my mind that it
correct.
could have been,
Mhm.
and so again, it was the miscommunication because I'm reacting, to, what are they trying to treat the, you're trying to treat the,
Symptom.
no, yeah, no, you're treating something versus actually treating, yeah, maybe it's treating the symptoms, not the,
No,
whatever, the root
not
that's making you sick.
not the root. Right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's just like you could have the flu, but the symptoms of the flu are similar to
Right.
that of the cold,
Right.
right? So
Right.
um so you're actually, and so that's what I was responding to, your behavior and your words, but I wasn't, because like you said, you have to take a step back and be like, okay, what's wrong, what's really driving this? And I couldn't see past the trees to see the forest, because I'm just reacting to, okay, she's doing this, she's saying this, what the heck is wrong with her? And so yeah, I mean, I am guilty of that. um but even with the, again, being a wounded bird, the other person is going to is so if you have one person who is, doesn't have those wounds, that's really the only way you can be in this, from what we've, kind of seen, is that really the only way you can be in a successful relationship unless the other person, like, unless there's somehow, some way you guys can talk, communicate. Because if two people have, are wounded birds and both of their wounds get open, it's a wrap. Like, but everybody retreating, right? Get behind the wall, put the gate up, we're the archers,
Right.
we about to go to war, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's so funny because, as soon as you started, tripping about that insecurity stuff, I was like, oh, okay, I'm on the clock now because I know there's a battle coming. And if you remember when we were talking about my friends, I immediately went on the offense and I said, I'm not getting rid of my friends. And you were like, well, Jay, I'm not saying you have to get rid, because I think we were talking about boundaries. I think we might have been talking about some type of boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, yo, I'm not getting rid of my friends. So whatever boundary you want to create, that's not going to be one of them. So, and you were like, well, I'm not saying that you need to get rid of them. I'll just say we need boundaries. And I said, look, well, I don't care what boundary you implement, you want to set up, but all I know is this ain't going to be one of them, so we were already.
So dismissive, very dismissive. Mm-hmm.
Right. Because I was like, hey, look, I'm just, I went on the offense and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm just going to be, because that's just me. I'm more transparent and I don't want there to be no, like, well, you never told. So I was like, listen, I'm going to just go ahead and tell you what's not going to happen. And if that's a deal breaker, then that's a deal breaker. But because I didn't see a need to go back and forth. Right. I didn't see a need to go back and forth trying to figure out what the boundary is going to be. I'm like, all right, well, if we're talking boundaries, let me just go ahead and say what one of them is not going to be. Let's just go ahead and put that out there in the atmosphere so everybody's aware this is not an option. Keep negotiating because that's not on the table.
So that's being dismissive of one's feelings.
Right.
instead of hearing and or I should say he heard me, but he wasn't really listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not what you wanted me to say. You wouldn't
right.
want me to say something different, which is,
right.
hey, let's talk about this. That, yeah, okay, I need to put
right.
some. And I was okay with putting boundaries. I just was like, hey, that ain't gonna be one of them, And so I didn't care what you had to say as long as that wasn't it.
So the thing about it is, as I had communicated thoroughly, it wasn't about him getting rid of his friends. It was about creating boundaries, which is something that he was not willing to do. And so if you're not willing to create boundaries,
I was, though. I was willing.
But you didn't.
Right. I said, you wanted me to create the boundary and you just wanted to be like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, he's, you wanted me to take the lead. And because I was already on the defense, I'm like, no, you tell me what you want to do. And then I'll let you know if I'm okay with it, because I didn't want to have to do more because I'm already on the defense. Right. So I don't want to have to do more than I have to. And she wants me to go all the way as far as I'm going to. It's like it's negotiating. She wants me to put all my cards on the table and I want her to put all her cards on the table. That's what was happening. That's what happened.
Well, so from the outside looking in, what boundaries do you think that you should have? What boundaries were you willing to create if you could do it all over again?
I don't know, because I wasn't talking to him every day, so I don't know what like you were you in your mind you were referencing things that weren't even happening. So I'm like, I don't even like. Okay, if you said talk to him once a week, I'm like, okay, like, or it. To me, honestly, I'm like, why am I being put on some type of, ration and when I can talk to my friends? Like, it didn't make.
No. It's not about. There's, like I said, there's friends that you have that are platonic, so you say. So you say. And then there are friends that you were transparent about that you had relations with. The friends that you had relations with, those are the friends I said that you need to create boundaries.
The ones that what?
The ones that you had relations with, those are the ones that you needed to create boundaries. I'm not talking about the friends that are quote unquote platonic, so you say. I'm talking about the friends that you had relations with. There should have been boundaries, period. If it's making the person that you're with feel uncomfortable, and I don't care if they're long distance, clearly, um, whether they're local or whether they're long distance didn't make a difference to me. You know what I mean? It was uncomfortable. So the thing about it is, for me, audience, my thing was, if I'm seeing this person, if I'm with this person, if I value this person, I'm going to try to do whatever I can do to make that person feel comfortable
Right.
and for him not to feel any type of insecurity. Period. And that's just what I'm going to do. And so it wasn't, and so from not my point of view, it wasn't reciprocated. His thing was, um, I'm gonna talk to my friends regardless. No matter, I don't care how you feel. You can't do that. Not entering into, not if you say you like somebody and you're trying to see where this relationship is going. That's
Well,
no. You don't behave in that manner. That's not how
that's
you
not,
do that.
that's not what
Once
happened.
once once the relationship once the relationship gets on solid ground, but once the relationship is on solid ground and it is planted in soil, then at that point, um then you can make room for all that other stuff. But while you're actually in the newness of a relationship, yeah,
Well,
you can't behave as though, and I'm not saying you behaved as though you were single. Well, in a way you did. In a way you behaved as though you were single, because your attitude was, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I don't care how you feel. No, that's not
that's
that's
not,
not how you enter a relationship.
again, of course. Now, I'm not saying that what I did was, everything was right. But what I am saying, though, is, you were asking for boundaries where none even needed to be. Women, most of them lived out of town. B, and I mean, like, states and states and states and states away, 5, 7, 8 states away, at least. Um, and so, seeing them was never an issue. Talking to them, it wasn't an issue either, because I only talked to them like once in a while. It was like maybe once every couple of months or something. Um, Now, what happened to pique her interest was one of those women, one of my homegirls. We hung out, um, like immediately after I met Jodie, and that's what triggered her, her wound, because she was like, so, basically, last time you saw her was like, oh, like shortly after you met me. And I was like, yeah. And that was an issue for her, you know. Um
He's not
and
telling the whole story, but I'm not gonna throw him up under the bus. But go ahead.
well, I mean, the story is very simple. I had a friend. We had already, pre-scheduled connecting, in New Orleans or what have you. And a couple of days before before I was going to leave, before I flew out, I met Jodie, right? And um, me and Jodie had a couple great conversations before I left, and then I went to New Orleans, had a great time, came back, and Jodie, happened to ask, "Hey, when's the last time you had sex?" And I told her, oh, a few weeks ago, what have you. And she was doing the math. You know how women do. They quick with that math, you know. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, you in New Orleans. What? And so we had to deal with that. I didn't see any issue with it. And, I wasn't the only
Well,
one that didn't see an issue with it.
well,
Other folks see an issue
he
with
saw
it.
audience. He saw an issue, ladies and gentlemen. He saw an
There's
issue
no
with.
issue with that.
There was an issue with it because let me tell you something. When he was in New Orleans, frolicking, whatever it is that he was doing, there were a few times that I called, and so he would put himself in a space where if I did call, he would either ignore the call. So listen to what I'm saying closely. He would either ignore the call,
I can either
or
confirm or deny.
or since he want to be so on the up and up, and
Right.
he says he's transparent. No, what he was trying to do is he was trying not to sabotage this potential relationship. That's what he was trying to do. So what he was doing is he was doing a lot of sneaking when he was in New Orleans.
I
So
don't
I
have
would
to
call.
speak. There
I
was
would
no
call.
relationship, Jody.
I
There was
would
no
call.
relationship. Right.
I would call. I
Right.
would call. He would
Yeah.
ignore the phone call.
I'm on vacation.
But he's supposed to be on the up and up. He's transparent. He doesn't
Right.
hide anything.
Right.
So I would call. He would ignore the phone call, and then when whoever this chick was, whenever she wasn't in sight, then that's when he would, then that's when he would, I guess, get the opportunity, or take that opportunity to call me. And then he lied because he said, "Hey, Jody, yeah, I missed your call. There was one incident, you guys. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed your call. I had a bad reception. Now, how the hell you have a bad reception in New Orleans from Florida? There was no bad reception. The point of the matter is he couldn't talk
I
because
might have stretched the truth a little bit.
he lied. That's
I
not
stretched
stretching
the
it.
truth a
That's
little bit.
lying. That's lying. The point of the
Uh-huh.
matter is that he couldn't talk because she was in she was in his presence. So it's all that sneaking and all that. See, he that was the back. That's the backstory. That is the backstory as to the reason why
But you
it
had
was.
nothing. Yeah, I knew you for 2 days.
It
Like
doesn't. Okay, so if you know me for 2 days, why lie? Audience.
it wasn't a
If
lie.
if
I just
if
didn't tell you
he
the truth.
lied,
That's not
he
a lie.
lied, he
No, I
lied,
just didn't tell you.
he
It's the
lied.
difference.
So audience, you can, yeah. So
So yeah, I mean
he
that's what happened.
lied. But go
You
ahead.
know, yeah, that's what happened. And that was an issue for her. Um, you know, um, for whatever reason, other folks tried to convince her, like, yo, like it's not that big a deal. But
One
she,
person tried to convince me, but go ahead.
well, I
Which
mean,
is
I don't
my
know how
best
many.
friend Jay. So he wants to use Jay as
I,
the as
I'm
the
just
spokesperson
saying.
for this for that particular situation. But there were other people who did not agree. But
Well,
because he met Jay, my best friend, because he met Jay, and he's now using, and Jay said the same thing, kind of agreed. Well, Jody, what you tripping about? Okay, so now Jay's the spokesperson.
well,
Okay,
no,
so
no, no.
but if I brought those other individuals along who said, "Hey, what he did was he lied, he's sneaky," bam. Okay, but I didn't do that. I'm gonna let him use Jay.
I didn't. Right.
So Jay,
I
because Jay's the one that's making him feel better. I'm gonna let him use Jay.
well, to be fair, I don't know who these the individuals she's speaking of are because she didn't tell me that's
I
who.
didn't.
But when she called her best friend Jay, she was like, "Well, let me call Jay. Can we call Jay?" Because she felt like he was going to take her side, and he didn't. So that's why I brought him up because initially he was a third independent party that she was like, yeah, she felt comfortable sharing that story with and having him talk to me so he could convince me. But then when he took my side, then she was like, oh, forget both of y'all. You know what I'm saying? So,
But the thing about it is that I didn't go into detail about Jay.
you went into
Nor my
detail.
I didn't go
No,
into
you went
detail.
into
I didn't. No,
excruciating
no, 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 no.
everything.
The only thing that I went into detail about with Jay
I was there.
is no, and I know that I never went into detail telling Jay that when I called, you ignored my phone calls, and
Yes,
that you
you
made
did.
sure. And no, I
Yes,
did
you
not.
did.
No, I
Okay.
did not. No, I did not. And
Yeah.
that at your most opportune time when she was not around, that's when you called me. I never went into detail with Jay about that. What I went into detail with Jay about is the relations between the two of you. That's what I went into detail about. Not
Well,
that.
right.
Not
I
you
mean,
ignoring my phone calls, and at your most opportune time you giving me a
right.
call back and then lying
So,
about the reception and on your phone. And
right,
I
right,
didn't go
right.
into detail about that.
So really what we have here is the issue, just to be clear, was met Jody Saturday, Tuesday, and Tuesday I'm on a flight, right? So I talked to Jody. Now, mind you, when Jody met me, it wasn't under any let's talk about seeing each other kind of. It was under she was interested in learning about Chicago style stepping. So it didn't. I don't think it turned from that to um I think it turned maybe while I was in New Orleans. Because we only had a couple conversations. They were long conversations.
They were long
But
conversations, right?
but right. But I don't think there was a clear decision either way, like, hey, let's pursue this until like I think we might have had a conversation while I was in New Orleans or something, and we were like, yeah, when we get back, we should check this thing out. Um, and that's what it was. So to me, whatever happened in New Orleans stayed in New Orleans
Yeah,
because
but Jay, just to you need to go back into the recesses of your mind just to jog your memory. When you told me about the incident that occurred in New Orleans, I my question was, how come you? I guess because of all the dancing around that you were doing down there, as far as ignoring my phone calls and all that the crap. What I
it
do
wasn't
remember,
that bad.
what I do remember you saying, you were like, yeah. I wasn't trying to, I wanted to see where this was going. So I didn't want to try to sabotage, I didn't want to try to sabotage this. I wanted to see where this was going. So so that's admission of guilt that you
What?
clearly
Mm-hmm.
in your mind
Mm-hmm.
felt like this could be a potential relationship. And based on the fact that this could be a potential relationship, I can't really be transparent with her or to her or let her know exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna have to ignore her phone calls, and I'm gonna have to call her at my most opportune time when old girl ain't around. So you've already admitted to that.
No, I admitted to
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
admitted to what exactly? What do you want? What are you looking for me to admit
You
to?
admit because Jay, the point of the matter is that you were trying to, in your mind, even when you were there, you were saying, okay, I can't be, that's what you said. I can't F this up. That's what you
I
said.
said
Or
absolutely.
I can't
I said
I can't F this up.
I did not want to sabotage the potential that we might have had. That is true. That is true. I always said that. I never shied away from that. I said I never wanted to. I didn't want to sabotage. Not that I felt. Um, not that I felt that it was even relevant to our situation. Because to me, what was happening down there was whatever I want. Was whatever I wanted to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like Jody had nothing to do with that. Like it had nothing to do with Jody. Um, I mean, because
Okay.
I couldn't. I mean, it's just
Sorry, audience. It's getting a little dark in here. I'm sorry, audience. Sorry. This happens on podcast channels and all that. Go ahead.
so. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, and that and honestly, that was the real trigger for her. Um, you know, and I think I asked her. I was like, "Are you gonna be able to get over it?" Like, because I never gave her, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I would because to me it was no big deal, right? It was no big deal, and I think the fact that I was communicating like it was, she probably felt like I was dismissing her feelings, whatever, have you. But to me, it wasn't that I was dismissing them. It just didn't make sense to me. It was like, yo, it's, why are we even arguing about this? This is nothing. This is, and so, but I think for her it was much bigger. And so that, you know what I'm saying? It started out as a little, like a little, pebble, and then, roll it down a hill full of snow. That little pebble, you know, turns into a huge boulder, and that's what happened. Like, I think that's what I think happened. I think that was like the beginning, and she's like, okay, that's the way. Now I'm gonna keep eyes on him, and so that basically right there, I didn't get no rope. She took all the rope. She just didn't tell me she was taking the rope. Then how they give you enough rope to run around a little bit. Yeah, and I'm not one to be put on no chain or no rope. And so when she tried to do that because of how she was feeling about this situation, then that caused me to be like, all right, well, this chick crazy, she, what I'm saying? That's basically what happened. Why are you looking like that?
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, I was giving you a chance to respond.
Well, he's gonna in a way he kind of I wouldn't say he incriminate him. He contradicted himself. He didn't incriminate himself, but he contradicted himself. The point of the matter is that if you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong, then you don't need to be hiding from my phone calls. That's all I'm saying, and that's what he did. Yeah. If you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong, you don't need to be hiding from my phone calls. Because according to you, you want to up and up, right? You transparent, right? So there was no reason for you to be hiding from my phone calls when I called you when you were in New Orleans. There was no reason for you to be calling me. There was no reason for you to be calling me at your most opportune time when she was not around, because you're supposed to be on the up and up, remember? You're supposed to be transparent. Okay, that's my point.
Yeah, you were on a need to know basis.
No, you don't need to hide. That's what I'm saying.
You were on a need to know.
No,
I mean, you knew what you needed to know.
So he knew he was wrong on that part, period. He may not have felt like he was wrong, having relations with the girl, but he was wrong on how he handled it, period.
Okay. So that's, how, one of the issues. And so for me, I'm not sure how, Jodie has learned from that situation, but what I would say is, in retrospect, reflecting on, my wounds that I didn't even know I had, until recently. Now I know, for me, when a woman starts to display, those symptoms of insecurity, it should trigger a conversation and not a reaction from me. Because what they did, every other situation, it triggered a reaction versus me trying to understand, like, okay, what's going on, help me understand, so then we can speak the same language. And I can imagine my tone probably wasn't right, because again, I'm reacting to that trigger. When somebody gets insecure, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, my voice, you probably want to hear something soothing and calming, reassuring,
nurturing.
And my tone was everything but that. Like, probably put an extra little bass in there, like, yo, what the hell is going on now? Probably threw a couple cuss words in there, and like, yo, I ain't with this, like, I don't know what's happening, but this, what I'm saying? Like, yo, and so then, you add in her insecurities about abandonment, and that's basically, what I was trying to do, get out the back door real quick before, something happened. And that's what I learned too, is women, when their wounds are triggered, or start to open, they don't. You would think they would just talk or they might retreat, but they attack because they feel like you're the one who created the wound. All you did was just simply reopen it. But they act like you, it's almost like, oh, they look at you as like, oh, you the one that created this wound, and you the one that I'm about to unleash on, you know. And that's what, and that's why I have that in the back of my mind, like, okay, anytime I see that, I'm like, all right, I got to get up out of here quick before, World War III atomic bomb gets dropped, um, so I don't know what Jody learned from that situation. Maybe she can speak on that, but that's what I learned is I need to, kind of take a step back, and then instead of reacting to her words or her actions, kind of just react, with an understanding. I have to be more understanding versus reactionary.
Um, I I think that you, I think I don't really think that like okay. For me, I mean, I can easily say, okay, well, I could have handled it differently by communicating, or being more uh forthcoming with my feelings on how the situation made me feel, the New Orleans situation or whatever. But I'm the type of person, once those insecurities kick in, um, I mean, just the wall goes up. I don't feel, I just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable and I don't feel safe to even communicate how I feel,
Yeah,
you
but how's
know.
that going to help you in the future? I mean, we're talking about how's that going to help. I mean, that's not
The
you. And
person has, yeah, but the person, but based on your reaction is what makes you, your reaction is what makes me, is what made me shut down. So had you reacted differently, like you were stating, more, instead of being apathetic and being a
yeah,
little bit more sympathetic and being, more nurturing, I'm sure that I would have probably just, I probably would have purred like a kitten.
right,
But
but
if I don't get that, I
right,
just, yeah, then I
but
shut down.
right, but what I'm saying is that's not the right way to approach it, because if it's Joe Smo the next time and he hasn't doesn't have this enlightenment, and he reacts the same way I did, you just gonna react the same way, go through the same cycle all over again. That doesn't
No,
make sense.
no.
Well, what
You
did you
make,
learn? Like,
so you make sure, that's why it's called, uh that's why it's called going through the dating process. Not dating, I hate that word, dating, but courting. Can I use courting? The courting, a courting process where you guys are learning each other, you know what I mean. I think with us, I think we went into, and I'm not the only person that feels this way. I mean, I think, Jay, you and I, we heard it from Herbie and Diane, and Jay, we kind of entered into this thing fast, and we, in my opinion, we did. I see,
no,
he doesn't think so, but I do. I do.
that was my typical speed. That's my typical speed. I don't.
See, that's not
Everybody,
my typical speed. And they knew that. That's why they said, "Don't you guys think you moving a little fast?" I mean, real fast, because they know that's not my typical speed. It is
oh,
not. Um, but you're asking me, what did I learn from it?
how are you going to proceed? How are you going to make sure and a similar situation happens? How are you going to react? Like,
I
what
don't
did you?
know. I mean, Jay, for the most part, I don't know. I kind of got a brain freeze on that one. Um, because for the most part, let me tell you why. Because for the most part, I think you had the most to learn from this, not me. I'm gonna
I'm
be
just
really honest.
I'm just saying,
You had the
like,
most to learn on, not me.
Same situation happens. We already talked about, yeah, Jay could have done this differently. Jody could have done this differently. And what you're saying is you're still going to behave the same way. That doesn't make sense.
Well, if well, and hopefully I don't, because hopefully I'll vet a little bit better. I'm a little bit more thorough. Not to say that you're a bad person, Jay. You know I love you, but
all I'm saying that you probably should have done. I thought you said the same thing is communicate. Like instead of.
But you have to, and that's where I was going. You have to feel safe to communicate. You didn't make me feel safe to communicate how I was really feeling.
What am I going to do? Chop your head off? I mean,
no. That's no. I'm not intimidated that way. No.
I mean, so what you saying?
No.
I'm just saying. What safe? How can I make you feel safe?
Right? You're not by being nurturing.
I mean, but that's not. I know, but I think you're asking. I think you're asking something that's unreasonable because most men aren't nurturing.
So, right? You have a lot of men that are nurturing.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. Audience will and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience will tend to agree, and yeah. Some may, but a lot. I'm sure.
All right. Well,
you can't say that. You can't say that a lot of men are not nurturing. Men are very. You have a lot of men who are nurturing.
I mean, Jody, we're talking about in this situation. This happens. They're automatically going to kick in to nurture, like some type of nurturer. Like, come on, that's asking a lot of a man. He's, he's not. So he's got to interpret your emotions and he's got to be able to.
He has to care enough. He has to care enough.
We already talked. It's more than that. Like, because
no, you have to care.
And he can ask questions and then you not answer the questions. Even like Job, who had, in the Bible, if you believe in such things, he, the patience of Job, like you can have the patience of Job and still be like, okay, if she has an exterior built of some impenetrable, material, like being patient is not going to do anything. I'm just saying, and you can be, impenetrable. So I'm just saying.
Well,
see how this is how difficult it is for her to. You see how hard it is for her to just say, "You're right, Jay. I could have done this."
No, I'm not gonna. What I will say is that
it's like hitting the lottery.
What I would do differently is I would communicate. How I would be forthcoming on in how I feel. But again, I'm not going to be forthcoming with a person that I don't feel safe with. I'm just saying.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because if he doesn't make you feel safe for whatever, it could be you guys just met and all of a sudden you're talking about this conversation, you're not safe, so you're not going like it doesn't make like.
If I'm just meeting this person, I'm not going to be.
I'm just saying, like safe, like
safe.
Like, safe, like what? I don't. What's so hard?
Safety is secure. Safety is security. Safety is feeling secure. If that person,
what are you so scared of? That he's going what? He's going. What are you so scared of? What? I mean, I don't understand.
Okay, so like for instance, so we'll use the New Orleans example.
Okay.
And then we'll use your examples of your friends that you really don't have boundaries with. You think that's you think that is going to make an average woman feel safe, secure? Absolutely not. So if it's not gonna make the average woman feel safe or secure, do you think she's gonna be do you think she's going to be a willing participant in divulging how she really feels about, she's not going to feel safe enough to really communicate how she's feeling. She's probably going to retreat.
Why be in a relationship you don't feel safe?
Shut down.
Why? I'm just saying.
Because you don't have boundaries.
I'm just saying. Why would you be in something if you're not if you don't quote unquote feel, I mean, clearly, if you're in the relationship, this is my point. Clearly, if you remain in the relationship, you feel safe
Well,
about
that's
to some
remain in the
extent.
relationship,
Right.
right? Right.
But what I'm
Okay, so
saying,
you're talking about at the are you talking about at the beginning of a relationship? Are you talking about in the middle of the stream? What are you talking about?
so what we're saying is, in this example,
Mm-hmm.
boundaries. You were saying you didn't feel safe enough to 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 express your what boundaries you thought I should have because I was very dismissive about the whole New Orleans situation, and so I'm like, well, you
No,
felt safe in some regards, so why wouldn't you feel safe to just say your opinion? And
Jay, that's wait, Jay. I was excuse me. I did communicate to you that there should be boundaries. I didn't go into specifics,
detail
right, as to
because
what those
you
boundaries.
didn't feel safe.
Hmm.
Because you said you because you didn't feel safe. That's how we got on this safe.
Oh, no. I think we're crossing.
Okay, so what didn't you feel safe about? You said you didn't feel safe to express your opinion about something.
Well, I didn't feel safe. Well, just I didn't feel safe just expressing my feelings for the most part. You know, my I didn't feel safe to allow you to get within my emotional space. Now, I was safe enough to raise my voice, escalate my voice, and curse at you. I felt safe to do that, but to
Right.
allow you into my emotional space, no, I didn't. I didn't feel safe. No.
Well, here's the thing though. Like, does that even make sense?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
No, like if you don't feel safe to express your feelings, you shouldn't be in a relationship,
Well,
right?
Jay. Jay, you know that I did express my feelings. I
But you
did not. You know that clearly,
no, no,
right?
no. I don't think. I mean, that's why I'm kind of confused on what you're saying because I don't remember you feeling shying away from. I mean, outside of the miscommunication, I don't think is. I don't think is because you're saying you didn't feel safe. I just don't know if I agree with the word safe. Because I know women sometimes just don't want to address something they feel is just totally obvious. Just like men sometimes don't want to say something because we think it's just blatantly obvious. So, but you're saying you didn't feel safe. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like where's this
Okay.
safety
So
come in?
let me explain this. Okay. So maybe I'm so no. I did not feel I did feel safe enough to express how you made me feel. Okay?
Mm.
I did. What I didn't feel safe about was allowing myself to freely love you. That's what it was.
To freely what?
Love you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
There we
it
go.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
You know. And so next time, then yeah, because you know, y'all don't know Jodie, but I mean, she is like, you know, it's like Krypton over there, like impenetrable, uh, and you know, so now this is a breakthrough. This is real time. You know, she's never said that before. So I'm surprised she's not like hiding her face in the pillow, like I can't believe I just said that.
No, I'm not gonna.
Right. Um, so yeah, so I mean that's an interesting revelation. Um, I feel like I'm on Maui or something. I should say thank you for sharing. Like we just had, really what I'm saying?
A breakthrough.
Yeah, it's just like, well, thank you for sharing. I mean, we really weren't expecting you to, get all the way there, but uh I'm sure the audience is like, wow, okay, she came all the way around. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I think we've kind of, you know, as it pertains to wounded birds and, you know, just people in wounded, you know, wounded people in relationships in general. I think we've kind of shown, you know, how they can make missteps in relationships, and what the results, you know, can be. Um, you know, and hopefully, you know, this gives people some insight into how, you know what I'm saying, because I mean, at the end of the day, you know, where we're at right now is Jay is saying from here on out he's gonna have to look at, you know, or question or be more understanding rather, than respond to a woman's reaction or her words. And then Jody was saying she's gonna have to tear down these walls she has and just allow herself to be vulnerable, um, which is very difficult based on her experiences. So I think that's, you know, kind of where we landed landed the ship,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Um, you want to have, you know, any, do you have any additional words you want to say? Because I think this is, you know, a great place to a great segue to end this particular episode.
Um, I don't think I have any. I was trying to think. If I can't think about it. I can't think of it right offhand. But in the next episode, if it comes to me, well, I'll discuss it in the next episode.
Okay, so I guess then we'll go ahead and sign off on this episode. Guess we'll see
Thank
you
you.
guys later on the next one.
Thank you for joining us.
Jay and Jody, J and J Connection. See you later.
See you next time.